Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Q&A for Pahokee. I'm really glad that you all have joined us here. My name is Shakira Refos, and I'm the Education Outreach Manager at the California Film Institute. I'm really excited for this conversation. I saw Pahokee for the first time when it premiered at Sundance in 2019. I'm happy to catch up with both directors, Ivete Lucas and Patrick Bresnan, and some of the protagonists of the film. We're going to ask them some questions about what they've been up to and what the film has done for them in the past few years. If you've seen it or if you're about to see it, understand that Pahokee is a beautifully shot documentary, but it's not just that. I really see it as a love letter to rural Florida. It features a cohort of inspiring young people doing what teens do best. They're involved in sports, school activities, just hanging out and thinking about what the future is going to hold for them. So thank you all for joining us. I want to catch up with Jocabed Martinez and Bryan Big Show Crawford first before we move on to the directors. I would love to know what you all have been up to since the film premiered at Sundance. Jocabed, would you like to fill us in?
Yeah, so I am currently a fourth year here at the University of Florida, and I'm still here in Gainesville. Because of the quarantine, like I thought it was just best to like be here in Gainesville, not back home. Just because my parents are busy, and even though I can do like the distance learning back home, like I don't know, I've found Gainesville to be like very like home-like, and I also have like sorority sisters here, so I join a sorority, and like every now and then when we want to hang out, like we get tested prior to like hanging out, and like we're just here, and like we do like service events and stuff like that. So like in my time I occupy myself with like school and then like community involvement like within like CDC like guidelines. And currently, as my last year, I've just been really like thinking about the future and planning and really intentionally thinking about like my purpose in life and what I really want out of it. So for now, I'm applying to a master's program here at the University of Florida in ed leadership. So I haven't figured out exactly like what yet it is, like the steps, but I just know that I want to do something with leadership and helping like communities like Pahokee. And so I thought like, building myself like from the ground up, and developing my leadership skills is just like something that I want to do, and a master's program will help me do that. So for now, that's what I've been up to, and applying to scholarships, and just enjoying my last year because I don't know like what's to come in the future. So yeah, I've just been enjoying the ride.
That's really great to hear. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about what Pahokee meant for you, and some deeper questions about how filming the documentary was and looking back on it. But let's catch up with Bryan Big Show Crawford first. Bryan, would you like to just give us a reminder about your role in the documentary and what is BJ up to these days?
Okay. Hello everyone. My role in the film, I was BJ's father. Well, I am BJ's father. And I was also, they say, the voice of the muck of Pahokee. I was the commentator for the games. So me in the box, commentating all the games, doing all the music for the community when we have big pit rallies and whatever. If it has something to do with music, I was the guy. I was that guy. Just that piper here in Pahokee, with the kids. As far as BJ, he's getting ready to graduate in this upcoming May. But he will, unless some great things happen, he will continue on his education, get his master's, since he still have years left up on his scholarship. So he will continue to get his master's, and he will be blessing me with a grandchild. So his girlfriend already graduated in nursing. So that's what BJ's been up to. He's been very busy these last couple of years. So I'm happy. That's this is a role I've never had before. Not just a movie role, just in life. Being a grandfather, and I can't even say the word grandfather. I mean, papa. I'm trying to find a cool, word to put on this, because I'm too young to be grandpa. I got to be papa or something like Big Papa or something. I don't know. I got to find a cool name to put on it.
I imagine that if you try a few things out, something will just feel right. It will probably just stick. Thank you for the update, Bryan. Yvette and Patrick, so happy to see you again. You have some updates on what Nakiria and Junior are up to. They couldn't join us today, but we appreciate you filling us in there.
Yeah. So Junior moved to, what is it, Royal Palm? No, he moved closer to the beach, to the coastal area. He had been wanting for a long time to get closer to the coastal area because there's more job opportunities there. For a while, he was having a hard time finding transportation to get like a steady job and be able to keep it. And now he finally was able to do that, and he's working construction. He has 2 kids now. They're both super cute. Imaya is still like the same beautiful little girl with like an amazing disposition. And so yeah, he's doing well. And Kyria
is in the Tampa area, and she recently had a baby, Jahari, who was a little bit premature, but the good news is he's very healthy. And Nakiria she has a full-time job that has health benefits. So she's working for a Fortune 500 company at the front desk in downtown Tampa. So she's just moving in with her mom, and her mom is just over the moon with Jahari. So she was going to join us today, but she had to do a mandatory overtime at work, which might mean she was a little nervous to go on camera, but she's really well, and we talk to her all the time.
Good. I'm happy to hear that you all are still in touch. Thank you for those updates. I'm going to get back with you, Yvette and Patrick, to talk to you a little bit more about your filming process and your role in the community of Pahokee. But something I've been really curious about, Jocabed and Bryan, Pahokee, it's like a little time capsule. Not everybody gets to have like this really important part of their kind of like growing years documented. Jocabed, how do you look back on having this documentary as a testament to all the cool things that you were up to? And do you watch it once in a while, or how does that live with you right now?
So it's almost like how would you say, like Patrick and Yvette said, it was like the yearbook that we never really got. Like we did get like a tiny little yearbook, like lovely, made by like I think like a teacher, like our sponsor. But when I look back at it, it just reminds me, I'm like, wow, like I have grown in these 4 years. Like I was kind of childish then and still kind of am now, but like it really brings me back to like it reminds me of where I came from, and that's like something like I never want to forget. Never forget my roots and everything that I've been through, and as well with my family, because I feel like these experiences are like what just keep me going. And I want to become better of myself and hopefully do that and make my family proud. And I feel like not everyone has like a story like that. And when I share it with like sisters or people or even professors, like I've had the chance like, hey, like on discussion board posts, like to introduce ourselves, like I'm like, hey, like I'm actually, fun fact, like they always want you to share a fun fact. I'm like, I'm actually like one of 4 like protagonist in like a film, like you should watch it. And like I dropped the link, and then when we're in class, like everyone's like, what, like we didn't know you were like a movie star. Or professors, it has brought like professors to be like really closer to me and build like really like tight-knit relationships, and I really like appreciate that, because I don't know if without the film it would have been the same. Like I'm sure I would have still tried to build those relationships, but the film has definitely developed my relationships with my professors and people. And a lot of people tell me like, oh, like I didn't know this about you. Like if you would have never told me to watch this, like I would have never like knew what you've been through and like about Pahokee. And a lot of people say that they're grateful not to only know about my story, but like really a lot of people, you know, the obstacles and struggles that like the youth of Pahokee face.
Jocabed, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ivete.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say also the experience that you had in the U.S. Embassy, showing the film in the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, I think was really an amazing thing that you got to do, go back to Mexico and show your life story.
Yeah, that was very life-changing. And also because I was able to speak to Mexico youth over there, and even talk in Spanish and really like get in dialogue with them and tell them my story and hopefully like inspire them and talk to the parents, because you know it's all like it's a work with everyone, like with the school community and parents, like everyone has to be involved. And that was just like an unforgettable experience. And my grandparents were actually able to go watch the film in Mexico, and like they were really happy. Yeah, that was really nice.
Okay, but I was actually going to say exactly that. What I really admire about Patrick and Ivete is how open they are about sharing the documentary, and they just want as many people as possible to see it. And your role in it is incredibly inspiring. And so, in the hope that many people get to watch this through PBS and moving forward, you should really know that students have someone to look up to in the documentary when it comes to how you carry yourself and just the spontaneousness of your character and the way that you share your family. So thank you for that. Let's see, Bryan. I have a quick question for you as well. You play a lot of different roles in the community besides being BJ's father, of course. What came up for you when Ivete and Patrick proposed the idea of doing a documentary, and you understood that the community was going to be filmed, and that it was going to be a pretty big deal? You premiered at Sundance. How did that feel for you, kind of from beginning to end?
Well, in the beginning, you know, at first I was like, you know, because some other um, movie seekers or makers came through and did some documentaries about Pahokee. It was a very dreary and very like dark, like this godforsaken place. But they only shot from they made this story, they made this town look like a third world country. They didn't really get the real gist of like Pahokee. And what Patrick and Ivete did, they gave the real insight from the people. It wasn't somebody else telling a story about Pahokee, what they think Pahokee was. They actually let Pahokee tell the story of Pahokee. They just rolled the cameras, sat back, and let things roll as they come. The natural, you know, catching Pahokee in his natural state. So people really got to see the real Pahokee, how we are family oriented, and the picture that the others painted. And I told Patrick, I said, listen, Patrick, um, you know, it's cool you want to shoot the movie, but if you're gonna paint, if this movie is gonna come out like these others, you know, I'm not with it. I don't know about that, but you know, um, if you're gonna do this town is justice, and and let the people see Pahokee for who we really are, then I'm all in. Whatever you need to do, and they did just that. They let Pahokee be real. And so the people that never visited Pahokee can now say, oh, that's Pahokee. Because the other, everybody that told me a story about Pahokee, is drugs, is killing, is, the people don't live in shacks. Well, we have palm trees, the second largest freshwater lake, Lake Okeechobee. I mean, people actually have houses here, nice houses, and they got to see that. They got to see the real love. They got to see the heart of Pahokee, and that major heartbeat for us is our kids.
Thank you. Yvette and Patrick, to kind of follow up on that, where did your desire there's clearly something extremely special about this community, as Bryan Big Show is stating that numerous documentaries have been created. What drew you to Pahokee, and what was it like to film and document a community that you're not necessarily a part of? What does that look like?
I'll let Patrick start because you're the one who started going to Pahokee before I did.
Sure. So my family moved to West Palm Beach about 20 years ago. And West Palm Beach is the coastal aspect of Palm Beach County. And the other side of the county is on Lake Okeechobee, and that's where Pahokee is. So when my family relocated there, ever since I was in high school, I had been doing work with Habitat for Humanity, Mennonite Disaster Service, and I've always just been very interested in finding ways to participate in helping people live better. And as I'd work in communities like Pahokee, I started to get to know people, and I learned a lot about their stories. And coming from coastal Florida, where, like Bryan says, there's a lot of misconceptions about communities of color. Florida is a place where a lot of the coastal communities are gated. The news only goes to communities like Pahokee when there's crime. And so I was telling people I was going to Pahokee, and they were scared to death. You're going to get shot. We even if we're running out of gas, we don't even stop in Pahokee. And so, as someone who was also a photographer and a storyteller, I knew we had a great deal of work to do to bridge kind of what segregation had done to Pahokee, and what 50 plus years of negative news stories had done to Pahokee. And I felt we could do that through making short films. And so after I'd been working with people in Pahokee for years, we started making short films when I met my wife, Ivete. And those were just kind of portraits that showed a day in the life of the community. And those portraits, the real aim of them was to dispel the so-called fake news that if you went to Pahokee, it was a dangerous place, which I knew was not the case, but most people who didn't live there.
And also to preserve the very rich culture that we were seeing in Pahokee. I think that one of the main problems that we were seeing in mainstream media and like just the consciousness of the country was this lack of representation for rural communities of color. And knowing people really well in Pahokee at this point, we were like, well, we had something to say. We didn't come to make films in Pahokee out of a place of curiosity of let's see what this place is like. We had known people and stories for long enough that we thought these stories are worth telling, and we need to put them out in the consciousness of this country so that they stop ignoring who we are as a country.
Right.
And I think to your question about like not being from a community, I mean, I think, so I'm from Mexico, and also from Brazil. I was born in Brazil and raised in Mexico. And growing up, I would see films just like what Bryan was saying, like films about Mexico and like just super dire, like just, you know, what they call poverty porn. And I was like, this is not who we are at all. Like, what in the world is going on? Like, we don't want to be pitied, you know, we want to inspire other people. And so I never wanted to make a movie like that ever. And so I think it's very important to know, like, even though we knew people in Pahokee for a long time, it's very important to know who you are. And like, we knew that we were not from there, and we knew that we couldn't just come in and start making films. We had to earn trust and we had to earn confidence. And we started with the short films. The first one was about prom, after somebody invited Patrick to take photos of prom, and we realized how amazing prom in Pahokee was. And through making the shorts, the first film we made, The Send Off, got into Sundance. And another problem I had with documentary community was that sometimes I'd see directors out there just talking about these communities and people that they've documented like they were experts, like that, you know, like they had the authority and to say things like that. And I was like, no, we need to bring the people to talk about themselves. Like, these films need to be a bridge for communication. And so from the start with the short, we raised money through Kickstarter, and we brought 4 people from Pahokee with us. And then we had another short, and we brought everybody again. And we did that with 3 shorts. Even we went to Cannes with Skip Day, and we brought 2 girls to France with us. And I think also through doing that, and through people in the community actually watching the shorts and getting to know us, and just like years going by, we earned trust and confidence that we were gonna give them the space to inform us as we're making the film. Because that's another thing that's really important, is like, first, we placed ourselves there for a long time. Patrick and I moved to Pahokee to make the film. And we can't make a film without knowing what it's like to live there. And secondly, we did everything we could to just be humble and understand that this is an opportunity for us to gather, capture a year in people's life and learn. And that learning process is reflected in the film. It's not for us to impose our narrative. It's for us to, as we're making this film, learn and render a story that reflects exactly what we lived that year.
I think that is what you're saying is what really caught my attention about your documentary when we were deciding at Sundance if we were going to screen it for education. We're just so used to seeing the results of kind of oppression, which is like, disadvantaged communities, at-risk youth, all of those kind of buzzwords that don't actually describe people. And then when I watched your documentary, it was like, this is how I want to see Black and brown teenagers. I want to see the same precious narratives that we have and usually reserve documentaries and narratives for white kids. I want to see the same thing. And I highly recommend for the audience watching to watch Rabbit Hunt, to watch Send Off, and to watch Skip Day as well, because they're just such charming pieces of work that just feature just really cool kids to follow. Jocabed, you went to Sundance. Tell us a little bit about your experience there. Did you go skiing as well?
Oh, it was amazing. It was my first time ever like seeing snow. And well, someone who lives in Florida has never seen that. So I was super excited to go see some snow and to really premiere the film. Like me and Kira were literally holding hands at the theater because we were so nervous because like we had seen like prior to like going to Sundance, like Patrick and Ivete like sent all of us like who are in the film and like we watched it raw. I don't know about them, but I was just boo-boo crying because like it just watching it really like stirred something inside of me. And I was like, wow, like I think like I'm always just like on the go. That I don't really think too much about like my story, but like when it's captured like that in the film, like it really like brought me in the tears and it was just really emotional. And just being there at Sundance, I was like, wow, like all these people are gonna learn about like our stories and about Pahokee and about like what we really are, like who we really are, and like the people that are in the community. Like there's just so much potential, and I was just like nervous about like people's reactions, and I knew there was going to be a Q&A after, so I was really nervous about that because it was a huge crowd. But it was successful, and I was really grateful for the opportunity and to really like for the people that were there to stay after the Q&A and that wish to learn more about like us and our story and really about Pahokee as a community. I really enjoyed that experience.
Bryan, can you tell me quickly what the football team is up to, how involved you still are, and kind of some of, maybe what everybody's been up to as far as the athletic side and also any news on the school. And besides that, is there anything that you can share with us about Pahokee that we haven't learned from this documentary?
Well, our last couple of seasons, we were graced with the presence of Anquan Bolden's brother. He was actually the head coach there. Um, he just accepted a job on the collegiate level. So he's done it all, like from professional. He just finished up with high school back at home, something that he said he always wanted to do. And now he's back up at a collegiate level. The outlook of the team this year, as of talking to some of the coaches, they say it's very promising. We got a young team, but I mean, everything is falling into place as far as, them getting in the weight room. The COVID really, like that pandemic really like put like a lot of not just our school, all the schools everywhere, like in a like, in a bind as from seasons being cut off to not being able to really meet with the teams and practice like you want to. And you missed out on a lot of things. I feel like a lot of our seniors um got you know got the short end of the sticks type of way, because on the collegiate level, a lot of those seniors or kids get to replay or redo their senior year. Whereas for as
Mhm.
high school, I can't go back and redo my senior year and
Right.
hopefully get that eye of the scout where my season just got cut off, or we didn't have as many games, or we really couldn't show our best out there because of the pandemic. So, I mean, trying to find that offer, that college scout come out, I felt like the high schools everywhere really got, cheated out of that because of the pandemic. Um, what are we doing now as far as the school? As far as the school, we've been making great strides. I mean, they have the robotics program going on. They're trying to put in place a to teach how to fly the planes, or getting a license, aviation license, something new that they're bringing out. Myself and a couple of others, we've been working with our ESC community, teaching them employability skills, like tapping into a group of kids that were kind of overlooked.
Mhm.
So now, we've been have like maybe 100 kids or so in the ESC community that's able to go out in the community and speak with managers, learn job skills, learn how to create resumes, and how to conduct themselves in an interview. Um, just what over the Christmas break from our program, we had 4 kids get jobs at Walmart. We met with some influential people, not only in Pahokee but in West Palm area. Javante Edmonds, a very great guy. He's over the Suits for Senior program. He outfitted all our kids with tailored suits, free. The young ladies had the business, attire with the pearls, and like the kids was like excited. Some of them never owned a suit before, so that meant a lot to them, and they got paid, so it's just something that I mean, the kids, I mean, just seeing the look on their face, and like, wow, like I feel like I can do something more now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that film brought out, because everybody really didn't know Pahokee. And that film brought that out of a lot of people. They really got to see Pahokee for what it was. And the kids that was involved, it was like, yeah, I did that. It's funny, looking at things, or looking at a movie of you, and now you're critiquing yourself. Oh, wow, did I really do that? And seeing it live, and I think, just putting myself in the kids' shoes, they really, like they said, that was that yearbook, that movie type yearbook that they never had, and they got to see themselves from the beginning to the end, and it kind of pushed them a little harder to show I can see where I came from, and now look at me.
Right.
What else is in store? I can do better. I can do more. And let me take my more and share it with the ones that are still in Pahokee. And to Jocabed, that's the best way to go back and reach out to the youth of Pahokee, being that teacher. You're doing something that a lot of people don't want to do, but it's so meaningful, and it's so rewarding. Going back and having that kid come up to you years later and say, "Hey, you remember me? Remember you had this conversation with me, and that changed my life." That's the
Yeah.
most rewarding thing in the world. So it might not
I'm,
make, teachers might not make the big money, but those small things is what's rewarding in the end.
I hear you. I feel like I'm a fan of educators, and as an educator myself, and as a mentor in some ways, I believe so strongly that students just need to be seen sometimes. And the film does a really great job of doing that. As you're noticing that people are making more of an investment in Pahokee, and students are really taking the opportunities that are given to them. Do you think, I'm curious, do you think students and young folks who leave Pahokee and go to school, do you think they're going to come back? And Jocabed, are you planning on going back to Pahokee?
I definitely say yes, just because I feel like all of my 4 years here and what I plan to do in the future have been to hopefully help communities like Pahokee, not just Pahokee, but really help communities that are, because there's a lot. I mean, Pahokee is just one of many. And I really do wish to make an impact in the education field with students that look like me, and that students that, have a lot of potential, but there's just like a lot of like social economical barriers. And I would just want to like give my contribution there, like my small piece. I feel like that would be the most rewarding for me.
Bryan, do you think BJ is going to come back to Pahokee?
Most definitely. I mean, when you, earlier you made mention about the flyer or something that you had, the poster.
Uh-huh.
Was that of the young lady in the drill team, like
Yeah, yeah.
drill? And I look at that, like, because Pahokee is just known for like agriculture, the sugar cane, the corn, the orange groves, and those type of things. That picture to me meant that our younger generation is like leaping over that stereotypical, you know, name and those stereotype that they place on the small town, and to finally getting the
Mhm.
opportunity to leap above those stereotypical things. We're not just farm workers. We're not just football players. We're going to rise above that. And as you can see, the girl like jumping over the field. Okay, we're going above that, and we're going to be those doctors, those lawyers. When you talk about people coming back, Anquan Bolden, left the NFL, and he's giving thousands of dollars to graduating seniors. He's bought whole football equipment for the teams, and giving back to the community of Thanksgiving and Christmas. Not just him, Janoris Jenkins, Pernell McPhee, Ricky Jackson, all of these former NFL, Super Bowl, All Stars, and they come back, and everybody give back in their own way, and our kids see that, so they learn from that. And that group of kids that just left, I feel like they will come back, and they will give back and help pave the way for other kids behind them, because so much has been given to them.
Thank you.
Uh,
Patrick and Ivete, I feel like this feels a little bit emotional, even just, having Jocabed here and Bryan, big show. Do you feel, Ivete and Patrick, do you feel like the documentary set out, that it did what you set out to do?
Well, I mean, we would have loved for the film to have a larger scale distribution, so more people could experience it. As far as what's on screen, I think we're both utterly humbled and honored to have recorded and edited and shared every minute that's in that film. I mean, it's almost a 2-hour film, and it was really hard to make it 2 hours, because if we had our say, it would have been a 3-hour film.
But also, like, it was just such a serendipitous thing for us to be in the community in the year that they had this amazing run with the football team, in the year where, I mean, we didn't know Jocabed was gonna give a speech at the end. There was just so many things that lined up for us to make a film that said so much about Pahokee. So like Patrick was saying, as far as what's on screen, it was above what we intended to do, for sure. But yeah, we would love for people to care and give more platforms for films like this,
And I think what's so wonderful about working with America Reframed is that we've been able to share the film for free. And that was always our goal, was that people could watch this film with very little barriers to entry. So we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, I think, with this opportunity, we're hoping that the art house communities will share the documentary with their school communities. We're sending it out to everybody. The California Film Institute is incredibly stoked to have an ongoing relationship with you, and the education department is happy. I can say on behalf of the education department, we're really happy to have the opportunity to meet up with you, to catch up with Jocabed and with Bryan, and to find out about Junior and Kyria. Before we wrap up here, Ivete and Patrick, what are you all up to right now?
We continue to make short films because it's an incredible way to work with the art of cinema. to experiment and try new ideas. So we have a short film that we recorded here in Austin about a newspaper delivery person working on Christmas Eve that will premiere this summer in Europe. And then we're in our office here with our assistant editor and Ivete. We're in post on a new feature film.
And we're super excited to be sharing our film right now with everybody that you're going to share it with. So it's amazing to continue working on a film that means so much to us as well.
Well, it's well deserving, and I will do my part to continue to highlight it and make sure that students catch up on these experiences with students just like them, but in different parts of the country. Jocabed, thank you so much for joining us. Bryan, please give BJ and his family our love. Thank you so much. Ivete and Patrick, this was the California Film Institute Education Program with Pahokee. Thank you all so much for watching. Appreciate your time and spread the word.